Thank you to Aura for sponsoring this video. Tonight we're diving into 8 disturbing posts from Reddit, so sit back, relax, and let's step into the darkness. I'm sure we all have disturbing or unsettling stories from years ago, but this Redditor certainly takes the cake. This was something that happened when I was 15, back in about September of 2015. Sorry if the pacing of this post is poor, this is my first ever Reddit post and I want to explain the situation in full context. Anyway, I live in a fairly large town in South Carolina. Back in 2015, I went outside with a buddy of mine to go walk around and explore the area a bit. He lived in a suburb off of a main road, where the surrounding area is all forest. We ended up taking the road out of his suburb all the way down to the end of the street. This area was still a neighbourhood of sorts, but the houses were more spread apart. At the end of the street, there was a house in the left corner. There was a pond in the yard, and a fence between the house and the woods to the right side of it. To the right of the house, there was a dirt road with a bamboo forest surrounding the path. This was private property, as there was a metal gate with a sign on the path, but it was open. The bamboo got us excited to look around the area and check it out. We entered about 30 yards into the bamboo forest, where there was a small left side turn. That is when we saw it. Hanging low, suspended from a tree, were 2 objects wrapped tightly in black plastic and duct tape. The first object was the shape of a decapitated body, about 5 feet long and triangular, wide at the top where the shoulders would be and tapering down to the feet. The second object was round, about the size of a human head, wrapped in the same black plastic and tape. Both objects were leaking blood, but there was no odour coming from them. I can't remember if there were flies around the area, but I do believe there might have been blood around the ground as well. We stood there and stared at it for about 20 minutes, asking each other what it could possibly be. It does seem obvious in retrospect, but I think at the time we were both in complete denial that we could have found something like that. The strange thing is that this was in clear view of the house, probably about 100 yards away. The exact spot where we saw those objects was clear of bamboo and any of the surrounding trees right up against the short chain link fence, so it would be clearly visible. Unbelievably foolishly, after seeing that, we decided to carry on into the woods further. There wasn't much else. We saw a wooden hunting stand, some thick brush, and more trees. As we were beginning to get bored and head out, we heard dogs barking, followed by the sound of an ATV getting closer. This is when we decided to run out of the area, having to pass what we had previously saw again. Unfortunately, we never reported what we saw, and it has been about 10 years since the incident. I still do talk to my friend, though not as much. We've discussed it more recently, and have concluded that it was most likely a body. Although we haven't spoken about it in a year or two. Is there any possible explanation for this not to be a corpse? Wouldn't somebody try to go to much greater lengths to conceal something like that? Especially when your house is in clear view. Does it seem like something worth bringing up to the authorities at this point? It has been a literal decade. How would they even follow up with this? Any possible explanations or advice would be appreciated. It would be absolutely terrifying to find something like this on a private property. But what could it possibly be? OP seems to have concluded to themselves that this was a human corpse. If that is correct, then they certainly need to contact the police as soon as possible, because even though this happened all those years ago, they still need to be made aware. As some people in the comments pointed out, Older cases, dating back way more than just a decade, have been solved when someone came forward about something they had seen or heard all that time ago. It could be the missing piece in a year-long puzzle, or it could put Opie's mind at rest that this was actually nothing. It's always important to bring forward information that could potentially be linked with a crime, no matter how much time has passed. As others noted, our intuition is an incredibly useful tool, and if everything in this person's brain is telling them that they found a body, then they should trust that. Some people tried to explain this discovery away as being an animal though. They mentioned that they saw a hunting stand when they went further into the woods, so could the person who owns the property have been an avid hunter? It's certainly plausible. Opie does mention in the comments though that they are entirely sure that it was not an animal. They say that it could be a prank or a prop for an amateur movie due to how visible the body was, but they were certain that it was human. They say that a deer would have been far too big, and the remains would have had to have been deliberately fashioned in the way that they discovered them. In this comment, Opie also elaborates on the state of the blood near the discovery, saying that it was bright red, like it was fresh. This could possibly explain why there was no stench coming from the body if it were real, but you would still think that the blood would have a strong smell, pointing towards the possibility of this being a prank or a decoration. But others can't seem to stop thinking that it is just a deer. One person mentioned that the head would be suspended higher than the body, which Opie mentions was the case here. The same commenter also said that they have seen dead deer before, and in certain circumstances, especially if it was wrapped up like it was here, it can look like a human if you don't know what it actually is that you're looking at. Opie has not provided an update on if they reported this to the police, but hopefully they did. Maybe this could be the lead that's needed to solve a mystery. And here's something that I've solved: the answer to keeping my data private. This 11-page report is packed with personal information. Names, addresses, relatives, even your neighbors. And this isn't from a hacker or a dark web leak. It's from a data broker. These companies quietly collect and sell all of your information for billions. It can be to advertisers, maybe even scammers, whoever is willing to pay. When I first found one of these reports on myself, I felt sick. Everything about my private life was on the internet, and as a content creator, that's scary. It all feels invasive, but you're not powerless to stop it, and that's where today's sponsor Aura comes in. Aura scans the web for data brokers that are selling your personal information and automatically removes it. They don't stop there either, because they keep watch for your info on the dark web, alerts you if your credit or banking details are being used, and even gives you a secure VPN, antivirus, and password manager. It's your entire digital protection system all in one place. You can watch Aura work to identify every data broker that is selling your information, and you can find out exactly who they sent removal requests to. It's disturbing how many are out there, but great to watch them disappear one by one. And I can help you out with that, because using my link, you can try Aura completely free for 14 days. In those 2 weeks, Aura will already start scrubbing your personal info off these data broker sites, and the best part is that you won't even need to lift a finger. So don't leave yourself vulnerable, because I know I'm not. Go to aura.com/Jessicur, that's aura.com/Jessicur, or click the link in the description and pinned comment to start erasing your personal information. Thank you so much to Aura for sponsoring this video. What if you were texting someone in a group chat and suddenly a message popped up saying that your dead relative had left the conversation? That was the reality for this Redditor. I have a text thread with my 2 siblings, both of whom have iPhones, so it's an iMessage thread with blue text bubbles. My aunt died about 3 weeks ago after 4 in the hospital. My aunt had a jitterbug phone and rarely, if ever, texted. If she had, it would have shown as an SMS, green bubbles. I have never texted her. If I open a new text to her, it starts in a blank conversation. But last night, at 4:25 AM, when no one was active in my thread with my siblings, it apparently switched to an SMS chat. Then it says, deceased aunt's name left the conversation. Then, it switches back to iMessage. The chain reads as follows. Text from me to siblings in a blue bubble sent yesterday at 8:33 AM. Text message, RCS, today 4:25 AM. Deceased aunt left the conversation. iMessage, today 7:33 AM. Text from my sibling. The Jitterbug phone has not been deactivated yet, if that's relevant. What kind of glitch could have happened that it would say someone left a chat that they weren't even in, let alone a dead person? OP says in the comments that none of their siblings were on their phones at that time. They claimed that they were asleep, and although OP had no way to confirm this, they were willing to take their word for it. This came after some commenters asked if it was possible that a sibling accidentally added her to the group before removing her after realizing their mistake. OP is quite sure though that this isn't the case, as they are all apparently just as confused as OP is. Plus, they noted that if the siblings were to do this from the aunt's phone, they would have had to driven 2 hours, gotten the key to their relative's apartment from OP, picked up the phone and charged it, drive back to OP to return the key, and then go home. It just doesn't seem plausible. One commenter came with an interesting theory, and it does seem possible. Of course, the relative's phone contract would have continued for a while after their death, because we can assume that it had been paid up, but after a while, and a potential missed payment, it could have been shut down, and thus their service would have been cut off. This could have triggered the message saying that she had left the conversation. And this commenter theorizes that because all of the people in this group were in her contacts, it sent to their chat rather than sending it to each person individually. According to some people with similar experiences, people using a Jitterbug phone have experienced being randomly kicked out of group chats in the past. However, this would require the relative to have been in the chat in the first place, which OP confirmed that they were not. Outside of the technical explanations, some people have told OP that this was her relative visiting people from beyond the grave. Maybe she was telling everyone that she had visited and is now leaving again. And it certainly is a sweet way of thinking. So we'll go with this theory, because maybe OP really did get a visit from someone who is no longer with us.
What would you do if you found out that your partner was doing something terrible to you without your knowledge? That was the reality for one Redditor. I, 22 female, have been with my partner, 24 male, for 4 years now. I have never known him to do anything like this, but I noticed he started acting a little strange around a month, maybe a month and a half ago. He started putting fruit on the floor in the garden, and I thought it was a bit weird, but he said he was feeding the mouse family that had nested in our shed, so I thought it was sweet, and I helped him to do so. Anyway, he started being really nice to me around 2 weeks ago, and was making me food, baking me cakes and stuff, which he never usually cooks, ever. So, I was so happy he found a hobby. I did notice sometimes that I felt sick and dizzy after eating, and I just put it down to lack of sleep or hormones. Anyway, a friend of my partner's came into my work today. I work in a cafe. He said he needed to speak to me when I was free. I was free, as there weren't any customers at this time. He told me that my partner had been collecting slugs from the garden on fruit he's been putting out there, and he's been putting them in my food, blending them up. He even sent this friend of his pictures of a bag of slugs that he had collected, and the picture of blended slugs. I feel really sick to my stomach. I don't understand why he would do this. This is so out of character for him. I asked him why he was doing it, and he accused me of snooping through his messages, which I would never do. And he got so angry at me for not being able to take a joke. I feel disgusting. I love him to pieces, but I just don't understand his way of thinking just now. Am I overreacting? I don't know what to do. feel lost. Immediately, the people of Reddit tried to get through just how dire the situation that OP found themselves in really was. You can get a parasite from consuming slugs called rat lungworm. Although some people get lucky and experience mild or no symptoms, the parasite can literally infect your brain and cause headaches, nausea, vomiting, or neurological issues. The worm can travel through your brain until it gets extremely deep, and this can lead you to needing hospital treatment. Sometimes, this type of disease could even result in death, so it's safe to assume OP's boyfriend was trying to cause them very serious harm, or they had zero consequences towards their actions. After making the post, OP confirmed their suspicions for themselves. They had a look through their house, and under the sink, they found an entire jar of slugs. They immediately left him and went to stay with a friend, putting the jar of slugs they had found in a plastic bag because they hoped they could turn it into the police. However, not everyone was on board with the police route, as the friend who had shown OP the photographs was now conflicted on whether or not he should speak with the authorities. And, disturbingly, not everyone on Reddit was on OP's side either. They reported that they were receiving a number of messages telling them to hurt themselves. Really disturbing reaction towards a victim simply looking for advice. Shortly after making the post, OP would provide this update. I went to urgent care last night / early hours of morning and waited, and I was finally seen around 6 a.m.-ish. I had some tests, and I have a high level of metaldehyde in my blood. I was kept in for monitoring, and I have some ulcers in my stomach. I was aware of this anyway, as I was hospitalized about 2 months ago for a burst ulcer. Originally thought it was stress, but they now said it could be because of the poisoning. I could have an infection of some kind, as my temperature is high, but they haven't found anything that could be causing that yet. They've checked my heart, and it's fine. I'm due to have heart surgery this year though, but they're delaying it due to ulcers and infections, and the fact that I keep getting sick, which is okay. I contacted the police and I wrote a statement, and I was asked some questions. My ex refused to say anything to the police, or to me. However, he did say he would speak to his friend, and only him. He then spoke to me. I was not alone, I was with a friend and his friend too. He confessed to doing random experiments on me. Tests starting a few months after we moved in together. It started with spitting on my toast, and then the week later, he replaced my propranolol, or beta blockers, with salt, or emptied capsules. I want to add that he was my medication holder, as I have a history of suicide attempts. So he handled my meds and gave them to me, and that's when he thought it would be funny. He also admitted to these things, swapping my Linda McCartney vegetarian sausages with real meat. He also replaced my corn nuggets with his real ones. One of my pet giant African land snails went missing in the summer, and I assumed it escaped as I left the lid open on their box. But he said it had died, so he scraped it out, and he put it in my curry. I vaguely remember the day he did this, as he laughed whenever I went to eat the curry, and I got really paranoid. So I put it in the kitchen and stormed off. He then brought it upstairs and told me to taste it, and I did, and I realized he added loads of chili. He said he was laughing because he put the chili powder in, and too much came out. Now I think he must have put the chili in to cover the fact that he put my snail in there. He also said he rubbed my toothbrush on the toilet but then washed it, as he thought that was too far. I feel like this is all a dream. It just seems too dramatic to feel real. I am unsure what is happening on the legal front. He says he didn't know why he did this, and that he does love me truly, and that he felt compelled to do it. Which I understand, as I suffer from OCD and I get compulsions and impulses. He said that he really loves taking care of me, and he feels like it's his purpose, and that he didn't mean to cause serious harm. He promises he never did any of this to our animals. I think he could just be stressed, as I have mental health issues that could have caused something in him to break from too much stress. I am really sad and sorry for those who I caused concern. They went on in the comments, revealing that he was diagnosed with antisocial personality disorder, and that he had admitted to everything. He told everyone that he had manipulated OP, giving them everything they wanted. He began to test her emotionally by cheating on them to see how they would react. And after that, he began the food experiments to see how long it would take for her to get sick. By all accounts, he is a literal psychopath. As of 10 days ago, at the time of writing, OP is still posting to Reddit, and although they seem to be having a rough time in life, they are still alive and active.
Have you ever had a creepy experience in the workplace? This next story comes from the Let's Not Meet subreddit, where a Redditor recalls a disturbing incident that they had a few years ago that still sticks with them. This story happened at work, I'd say about 2 years ago. So I, at that time 19 female, worked at my local coffee shop. By the way, I still work there, and I usually work closing shift, which ends at 10 PM. During dead times, we have to close the shop alone, which I was meant to do that day. So about 15 minutes before I close my shop, an unusual client enters the cafe. I say unusual because most of my clients are regulars. This dude, I'd say he's in his mid to late 30s, comes in and asks for an empty cup, which I give him. Nothing seemed weird at first. This guy goes into a corner to pop open a bottle of champagne. He jugs about half of it and pours the other half into the same cup I give him. I did think it was weird, but didn't want to confront him because, reminder, I am working this shift alone. So after chugging this huge amount of alcohol, he just started dancing around the same corner, which I did find weird, but in reality, I just wanted to finish this shift and go get wasted with my friends. About 5 minutes before closing time, I go around the coffee shop and notify the clients that I am closing. Before leaving, the dude came up to my counter and slid me a chocolate bar and just said, "Thank you so much." I smiled and said, "No problem." He then left the shop. At first sight, the chocolate bar seemed normal, but after further investigation, I noticed that it was cut in half inside the packaging. It was also visibly resealed, maybe with some sort of hair straightener, which I found concerning. One thing I didn't mention at first is that my friends were sitting at a table inside the coffee shop, but during the time he was there, I didn't talk to them at all, since I was trying to finish my tasks as fast as I could. So at first sight, they did not look like they were my friends. Time goes by and 10 PM finally comes around. I lock both front and back doors. When locked, it is possible to use the back door to exit the restaurant but not enter it. While I was counting the cash up and messing around with my three friends, one of them went to the bathroom. It's important to know that she used the disabled bathroom, which shares the same wall as the men's bathroom. Kinda annoyed, this same friend comes to us and asks, "Who knocked on the wall while I was pissing?" Me and my two other friends all looked confused, cause the three of us did not pull such a prank. Safe to say, we were kind of concerned. Naturally, we went and did a quick check in the men's restroom. We didn't open the one and only cabin that is right beside the said wall because we were a little too scared, meaning the man might have been crouched on the toilet. After that, I finished my closing work. I shut off the lights, and as I'm about to enter the code to exit the building, I hear the back door open and close. I think it is pretty obvious that someone was, in fact, hiding in the bathroom. All that made me connect some dots. What if I really was alone that night? What if, for some reason, I ate the chocolate he gave me? Would he have attacked me? Killed me? All that might seem a bit of a reach, but we never really know someone's intentions. So many unanswered questions, but this situation still keeps me up at night. I hope we never meet again. One thing is for certain after reading this story. The person was most definitely waiting for them to be alone. The creepy man didn't expect OP to have friends in the shop, and the banging on the wall could have even been done because he thought that it was OP using the bathroom. This would have likely been a tactic to then lure her into the men's bathroom to check on the noise, but the last thing he would have been expecting was multiple people to show up. Hence why he continued to hide and eventually make a run for it out the back door. OP says that they did report this to their manager, but sadly, they say that they didn't care much about this happening to them. To be honest, this sounds like something you should report to someone higher up in that case, because if the manager isn't taking a creepy person trying to get a staff member alone to do God knows what seriously, then find someone who will. Because OP was in incredible danger. It's so disturbing that the chocolate had been clearly resealed as well. What could have started off as a nice little gift for service quickly turned into another sign as to what this man's intentions were. A very disturbing story, and we can just be glad that OP made it out of this situation safe. There are many disturbing subreddits out there, but one in particular I wanted to cover in this video. The name of the subreddit, r/incest isn't wrong. With over 40,000 members, it is quite big for what it is, and one of the top posts shows just how extreme things can get. On Valentine's Day this year, this redditor wanted to show her brother just how much she loved him. Their post read, "I left these notes and a rose for him on his doorstep this morning. He's currently at work, but I texted to let him know I left something for him when he gets home. For context, we are not dating, but he knows I am in love with him and he doesn't mind me showing it. Maybe he'll come around someday, but regardless, I'm grateful that I can express my full self to him and hopefully make him feel special today. Just wanted to share this for the wholesomeness and maybe to encourage others who are hiding their love to go ahead and show it. If not fully, then however you can. Being brave and true to yourself is worth it. Life is short, and humans are meant to love, if nothing else." They also attached multiple images to the post. The first shows a letter signed on the envelope with their brother's name and a heart, along with a singular rose. Inside the first card reads, "Hi name. I know you've already turned me down, and I do respect that. I just wanted to give you something small to let you know that I'm thinking of you. I hope you don't mind. You are the most gorgeous man and amazing person I've ever known. I'm happy that you're a part of my life. I love you more than words can say. Happy Valentine's." From this, we learn that OP's brother has already turned their romantic attraction down, but it doesn't seem as though they care much and are still going out of their way to express it. They continue to show off their love in the next page of the card, which is filled with puns. "I insist that you be my Valentine. No chromo, my heart is broke on without you. We may be relatives, but my love for you is absolute. Will you be my bro friend? Can I be your significant other? You're in my genes, and you could also be in my genes. You should KYS. Kiss your sister? No. Roses are red, violets are blue, we share blood, let's share spit too." Unsurprisingly, OP says in an update that the card did not make their brother immediately fall in love with them like they had hoped. Who could have thought? Instead, he thanked them for it, saying that he appreciates the thought, but he seemed to be incredibly uncomfortable with it. Again, who could have thought? She says that she will not do this again because he cares about her, but seems repulsed by incest. You could argue that it was already a bit strange to go this far even after he had turned her down already, but here we are, and hopefully OP has now moved on. A big thing for this subreddit, and many others out there like it, was that they wanted their own spot on Reddit's Place event. If you don't know what that is, Place is essentially a massive collaboration art project where users can place one pixel every day on a large shared blank canvas. If subreddits come together, they can make images, such as this one, or this one, Or even this one. But ultimately, this subreddit serves as a place for people to mostly share their stories. And we have another to go over, in which this redditor admits to being in a sexual relationship with their own dad. I am an only child, and my mother was a horrible person to my father. She left us when I was 9, and so I was raised by a very loving and caring father. As I grew older, we grew closer, as he could rely on me more and more to help lessen the burden my mother had put on him. When I was 19, we were hit with a horrible winter storm that knocked out the power in our neighbourhood for 5 days. We had no heat, no light, and only the propane grill to cook on, which meant standing in the freezing air just to make breakfast. Without fail, thanks to my dad, there was breakfast ready every morning for him and me. I did what I could, but he was always the more proactive one between us. We had resorted to sharing a bed just to stay warm, and he would pull me into him, and I would fall asleep, feeling the heat radiate from his body. On the 4th day of the blackout, it felt like we had hit the worst of the weather, and we actually climbed into bed mid-afternoon just to be warm. This time though, neither of us were tired, so he held me as we talked about how the whole thing was just terrible. The only thing I wouldn't change about this whole ordeal is getting to spend time like this with you. Those words live in my head, and most likely will never leave. When I heard those words come from him, I felt so much love that I could not process it. I couldn't reply with anything that would come close to comparison, and no hug could have been tight enough. So after a short silence, I just turned around and kissed him. I took his face in my hands and kissed him in the only way I could, just hoping he would feel what I felt hearing him say that to me. I held his face so tight, afraid he would pull away, but there was no resistance. For that moment, I felt immense love, but also a terrifying dread that I may be destroying what we had. That was not the case. Instead, I felt strong arms pull me closer, and his lips reciprocating my kiss. We didn't do anything else that day. We spent that time saying anything we could to express the feelings that were now exploding out like a supernova of emotion, destroying our relationship as it was, and giving birth to what we have now. I won't talk about the other stuff right now, but I might at a different time. We've since moved to a small town where nobody knows who we were, and we live as husband and wife. The freedom to be able to let him hold me as lovers anywhere in the city is something I would struggle to describe. Now here I am, telling this story so anybody else who has felt even a fraction of what I felt that day knows that if the love is there, find a way to take it and never let go. So take this as your reminder that the new couple who just moved in next door, can you ever be entirely sure that they aren't related? Who knows, but keep it in your mind that you never really know what happens behind closed doors. What if you found a disturbing hidden folder on your partner's phone? One Redditor experienced just that. Married for 3 years, in a relationship for over 5. After a long academic journey, we are both at the start of our careers, and are pretty successful in doing so. Recently bought our dream house together, and are simply enjoying the few years we have left to do whatever we like, since we're planning on having kids in a couple of years from now. Our relationship felt to me like it's made to last forever. We're sharing the same values, same humour, same goals. Also, we were both old enough and experienced enough to tell that it's not just puppy love or anything like that. We both share a pretty much open phone policy, which just came naturally. Sharing pictures, simply grabbing the next device available to look something up, etc. We both own iPhones, and I recently stumbled across a possibility to hide pictures, so that they will only appear in a special folder. So last Monday, When he went for his swim training, he left his phone at home, and I went for it. What I found was beyond every expectation I had. I thought maybe I would find some random porn or even pictures of his ex or something like that. Instead, I found pictures and slow motion videos he took in the office over a span of a few weeks of his now former secretary. She is a 21-year-old, pretty attractive girl. He recently got a new job, and the pictures started around the time that he knew he would quit his old job and therefore probably wouldn't see her again. The pictures mainly focused on her ass, her legs, and her heels. There were also saved profile pictures of hers from social media. Then there was something else, which I still can't or don't want to believe in. One series of pictures shows her ass in a tight dark jeans with some fresh/wet stains of something that looks like sperm on it. I know that this is a fetish of his. I felt and still feel shocked and can't think of anything else since I found that Pandora's box. I did not talk to him about it yet. He is not suspecting anything, even though I could not act normally around him. He asked what was wrong. I told him I don't feel very well due to my period, which is also true. So please, share your opinion about it. How should I approach this? Should I even approach it? Is this normal behavior? Has anybody experienced something like that? Thank you for your support. Opie also added an edit to this post, adding more context to the situation. He spoke to me about her regularly when he told me about his day at work. She was his personal secretary/assistant. They also talked about private stuff, but nothing inappropriate. More like small talk, such as what did you do over the weekend, stuff like that. At least that's what he told me. But he always liked trying to make me a little bit jealous. Seemed to be a turn on for him. He tried to do so by telling me innocent things about other girls that were obviously attractive, like, she has new nails, which look way better now, or today she dressed a little bit inappropriately for work. He always did so with a smile, and of course I knew what was going on and what he was up to, and of course he, in retrospect, talked about her in that way most of the time. It did not bother me, since I was sure it would be something childish he needed for himself. Most of the time, I wouldn't even react. He has no social connection to her anymore. Not on social media, not in real life. The only contact they do still have is their phone numbers. She sometimes has to reach out to him to ask for some work-related stuff, since not all of his projects have been finished when he left the job. He openly tells me about that when there was contact. It seemed normal to me. What I don't know is where he has the social media pictures from. I looked it up, and they are not connected via Instagram or Facebook, and her profile is set to private. He doesn't use any other social media as far as I know. Some of the pictures were WhatsApp profile pictures, others probably not. That makes me wonder a little bit. Maybe I should try and hold myself back for a few days and see if the folder is updated regularly. What do you guys think? Also, I feel the urge to check on his other devices, but I have resisted so far. Opie said after this update that they suspected that there was more to this, and so, while he was at work the next day, she was going to have a look through all of his devices. She says that he lost the right to privacy after taking photos of this young lady without permission, and she even went as far as to describe her as a true sweetheart. And sure enough, the next morning, Opie would return, and they would provide this update. Sorry for letting you guys wait for so long. Now, I'm sitting here at my sister's house, spending the first night without him in years. It's about 10 PM here in Europe. After one of you guys told me about the Photos app on Mac, I opened it. It was a mirror of his phone, and then some. There was a hidden folder with all of the spy pics. Also, there was an album by the name of her initials. It was the single most disgusting thing I have ever seen. He took pictures and videos of himself ejaculating in prepped food in Tupperware, while obviously being in his office bathroom. A few pics later, she was eating her lunch at the office right out of that Tupperware. Pictures of him coming into a coffee or on some cookies. You can imagine the rest, I think. Besides that, I found dozens of pics and videos of her from social media, which all seem to be screenshots or screen recordings. I have absolutely no idea where he got these from, since they are not connected officially on any social media. After finding this, I decided to call my sister, who came over immediately. I was in a total state of shock and showed her everything. She was my rescue. She told me to go grab an external hard drive and take a copy of all of that stuff while I was packing my bags for the next few nights. We left before he got home. His laptop was still open, with the album open when we left. About 2 hours later, he tried to call me like 100 times. My sister took the phone once and told him to stop it in a very explicit manner. He wrote and is currently writing me messages constantly to come home and talk about everything. We could fix this. He needs my help and stuff like that. I didn't answer. Not a single word. I'm just sitting here crying most of the time and feeling like the biggest idiot of all time for falling for a guy like him. It takes the floor under my feet. It scares me not knowing what comes next, not knowing what to do tomorrow, and how to deal with all of that. I also think that I should contact her. It's too much. I would appreciate your advice here. He is a lawyer, and the city we live in is his hometown. His career would be over for sure if this were to become public. I don't think he could ever recover, and for myself, I would always be his woman. The poor wife. After this update, Opie decided to give him the opportunity to explain himself, and this is how it went. On Sunday, we met at our house. I told him my sister knew I was here and she would call me in about 1 hour to confirm I'm okay. I have to mention I had no fear concerning violence or something like that, but better safe than sorry. When I arrived, he was initially very reserved and observant. I acted calm and distant. We sat down and he said nothing. So I told him not to waste my time and to say what he had to say. He then asked me what I thought I found, and I couldn't help but respond that I found out he was a sexual criminal and that I would report him to the police. That probably was a mistake. His mimics changed, and he told me that it would be a very bad idea and may result in some serious trouble for me. He claimed he had an affair with his former assistant for quite some time, and this whole sperm food thing was just a game or a bet between them. The bet was that he would make her eat his sperm before he left the job. The pictures would be the proof, and he already showed her all of them to win the bet. He said it was just a kinky game between them. The other pics of her ass, etc. were also taken consensually. At least she knew about it. So he told me there was nothing illegal going on, and if I went to the police, this would be wrong suspicion performed by me. Also, nobody would believe me anyway, because it would clearly be an act of revenge from the betrayed wife. Last but not least, he would know the chief prosecutor personally, which is true. So if I went to the police, I would only make a fool of myself and also probably commit a crime. At that moment, I couldn't think straight anymore. I reacted emotionally rather than thinking rationally. I lost it and told him to get out of the house. It got ugly. The result was, he actually left the house. I had no idea if and when he might come back, and I also felt very uncomfortable in the house. I then packed a few more things and went back to my sister's house, where I'm planning on staying for the week at least. Now, I'm no fool, and of course, I see him being a lawyer trying to protect at least his career by claiming it was all consensual. He knows me very well, and he knows our relationship was over the moment I found the pictures. I've always been very strict in former relationships, and he knows that. On the other hand, his claim could be true. I think I'll contact a lawyer, as I need one for the divorce anyway. I also had to call his secretary. We will meet in about 2 hours in a cafe next to the office. She seemed surprised, but not concerned. We had already met a few times when I was visiting him at the office, and had casually spoken a few words, so I'm no stranger to her. I will drag some of the photos from my phone to show her. This whole thing feels so unreal. But if I didn't do it, the feeling of not knowing and not being able to do something until next week when I meet my lawyer would be too hard to endure. And it was during this meeting with his secretary that his story would come crashing down. When she arrived, I could already see by her mimic that she had no clue what was going on and why I asked her to meet me. This turned out to be true. The first thing I asked her was if he had contacted her within the last couple of days. She said no, and I had a feeling that she was telling the truth. A now 22-year-old girl could have not lied to my face this calm and collected, I think. So I told her I found very inappropriate and disturbing photos of hers on his phone. I showed her some of the spy pics on my phone and asked her if she knew or had noticed that. She reacted completely irate. The pictures I showed her were normal ones, so nothing about the really gross part just yet. I asked her about the relationship and his behaviour towards her. She initially said that everything was okay and normal, and most of the time he used to be very polite. But she added that towards the end of his job, he used to approach her very often and talk to her about personal topics such as her relationship status. One time, he made up a fictional scenario where he said he would ask her out if he wasn't married. When she replied to him that she would have said no in that scenario because she would want to separate work from private life, he acted offended and talked her into saying yes. I felt ashamed of his behaviour and apologised for him. Then, I told her that there would be something else which I needed to inform her about. I told her about the other pictures involving the food. I didn't plan to show her the pictures, but she really wanted to see them. I showed them to her, and she literally nearly threw up. She was in a state of shock. It broke my heart, so I sat next to her and took her hand. I told her that I'm by her side and will support her in whatever she plans on doing. I told her I had already left the house and would divorce him. I couldn't help but start crying seeing what he's done to that lovely girl. I asked her if she wanted me to accompany her on our way home, but she said it was okay. She would talk to her family and certainly report him and also file a lawsuit against him. At least, that's what she said. I feel so incredibly sorry for her. It breaks my heart. At the same time, I feel so angry about him and still hope that this is just a nightmare. Hopefully, I did the right thing. Now, with everything put in place to bring this disgusting man to justice, OP received a call a few days later from the police. The officer asked her to hand over all the evidence, which she did, and she also decided to make a statement about how she found it and what she did. They also did a full search of their home for hidden devices, but didn't find any, and the rest were seized. OP says that she had cancelled the appointment she made with the divorce lawyer though, because she just wasn't feeling ready to deal with all of that just yet. She said that she still planned to proceed with it though, but a while later, she would return to make another big update post, and this time, we would come to a disturbing conclusion. Hello everyone. I've received lots of messages asking for updates, so I decided to post one. I know a lot of you guys will be disappointed, and that's okay. It was a very tough time. Lots of emotions, fights, tears, sleepless nights, but eventually, he is my husband and I'm his wife, in the good times and in the bad. We are giving it another chance. I will not explain every detail that led us to this point, but I will say it was not an easy decision to make. We had very good conversations. He really opened up, took care of my feelings, and really didn't pressure me. I know what he did was wrong. Of course, he knows that as well. But saying it was all his fault wouldn't be fair. She is not the innocent girl I thought she was. Of course, I blame him for falling for her, but she must have made it easy for him, and in the end, he is only human. I know what victim blaming is, but that's not the case here. Again, I will not go into details, but she knew exactly what she was doing. She knew how he liked women's dresses, shoes, nails, etc. She must have been flirty with him from day one, which is for almost 3 years now. I couldn't even blame a man for getting weak, certainly not for finding another valve. She is not an angel. Probably most of you guys will now consider me weak, and best case, will tell me of how he was gaslighting me. Feel free to do so. It's okay. In the end, it's my life, my marriage, my shoes to walk in. For the criminal proceedings, he reached a deal and paid a fine. The money will be donated to charity. There were no court proceedings. She didn't sue him, which I think speaks for itself. Anyways, I still love you guys, and I'm very thankful for all the support I received. A very disappointing conclusion, because OP has taken all of the blame off of her disgusting husband and put it on this innocent girl. She further elaborated in an edit and said that she married her husband knowing all about his kinks and fetishes, and OP says that the secretary was doing her best to fit into all of them. First of all, she would have had no way of knowing this, and even if she did, it's a woman's decision what she wants to wear and how she wants to look. OP also says that she was always in a good mood, laughing and taking care of him in the office. Can someone please remind OP what this girl's job title is? Secretary? Isn't that like the entire point? OP goes on and says that she was changing her WhatsApp profile pictures weekly, even saying that she knew exactly how she was triggering a 30-year-old man, and that she must have known that she was manipulating him on a sexual level. It's so messed up that OP is thinking this way, and it goes to show just how much their disgusting husband has gotten into their head. The young woman was sexually harassed. He has committed many sexual crimes against her, and he should be held accountable for that. And it wouldn't surprise me if this were to happen again, because sadly, OP is doing nothing but being an enabler. And to be honest, with this sick mindset, I almost want to say that these people are perfect for each other, and both of them belong behind bars. What would you do if someone showed up to your parents' door asking for a man who you haven't seen in over a decade? That was what happened to this Redditor. This happened 3 nights ago, and I am going crazy trying to figure it out. I just moved into a new apartment 1 month ago, and I am still unpacking and settling in. I have been using my parents' address as my mailing address, who live a few towns over, 20 minutes away, all of my life. 3 nights ago, my parents call me at 2 AM, freaked out, and proceed to tell me this story. Apparently, at 1 AM, someone starts banging on their front door and repeatedly ringing their doorbell. My stepdad walks downstairs and opens the door, leaving the front glass door closed and locked. There was a man standing outside, who looked to be in his 30s, with a black hoodie on with the hood pulled up around his face. He didn't have any distinguishing facial features, facial hair, or tattoos. The only thing my stepdad said was that he looked to be Hispanic. Neither my stepdad or my mother, who was watching the whole thing out of a window, recognized the man. The man says, "I'm so sorry to bother you, but I'm looking for my full name." My stepdad plays dumb and says, "Who?" The man proceeds to state my full name again and says that my boyfriend is worried because I didn't come home that night. He claims to be a friend of my boyfriend and tells my stepdad that they are both out looking for me, worried because I didn't show up at home. I don't have a boyfriend. I live by myself with my 3 dogs and haven't been in a relationship in the past 5 to 6 months. Here's the weird part. My stepdad asked the guy what boyfriend he was talking about, and the man tells him the name of my boyfriend I had when I was in 10th grade, nearly 20 years ago. My boyfriend in 10th grade had a very, very unique Italian name. I've never met anyone with a full name even close to his. He says my high school boyfriend's name a few more times to ensure that my stepdad heard him, and repeats that they are very worried about me. Is my stepdad sure I'm not inside? At this point, point, my stepdad is weirded out and closes and locks a door in his face. The man does not leave. He lingers in front of my parents' house for the next 10 minutes, smoking cigarettes and talking on the phone. Finally, my parents call the cops. About 5 minutes before the cops arrive, the man walks down to the dead end on their block and drives away in a silver car. Stepdad was unable to get the license plate. My parents file a police report, and nothing else happens. After I hear this story, I am going nuts over the weird details. How would someone know who I dated nearly 20 years ago, and what would be the motive of making up a story that included that weird detail about my past? I have not had contact with the 10th grade boyfriend in over a decade. Yesterday, I decide to message him on Facebook to see if he has any insight. I tell him the whole story. He's just as confused as I am, and claims to have no part in it. I am at a loss. I'm also really freaked out that some strange man is going through that much trouble at 1 in the morning to look for me. Any insights or ideas would be greatly appreciated. No, nothing else weird has happened since then. In various updates to this post, they noted that it was possible that it could be from a loan company, as they took out a personal loan before having medical problems that caused them to fall behind on repayments. It would be weird for them to come to the door in the early hours of the morning with a fake story and a decade-old boyfriend, and sure enough, Opie called them up and they confirmed that they had nothing to do with it. They also confirmed in these updates that they are not in any legal trouble as far as they are aware. Around a year and a half later, Opie would return with another major update that made the situation much more confusing. After this happened, me and my family and a couple of my close friends have been talking about this mystery in depth to try and put our heads together to figure it out. We all have our own theories, but ultimately, no definitive answer as to what happened or who this creeper was. So we pretty much put it to rest and only continued to joke about it once in a while. Here's the update. My stepsister, my stepdad's daughter, and her fiance were at a house party right after the holidays, around early January of this year. While they were there, they started talking to a girl that neither of them knew. After some time talking together, the girl started talking about her ex-boyfriend, and how they were going through a really tough time together. They had recently broke up, and she felt really bad because he was a wreck over it. Somehow, it came up that this girl's ex-boyfriend was my 10th grade boyfriend, the one with the really unique Italian name. The whole situation wasn't that big of a coincidence, since I went to high school with my stepsister's fiance and we have a lot of mutual friends. So it makes sense that they were at a party that would include some people I went to high school with. As soon as my stepsister and her fiance hear this story, they both start freaking out, and without revealing too many details, they tell the girl about the whole mystery and how weird it was. As they are telling the story, the girl's face starts to go white, and she looks like she's about to cry. My stepsister and fiance try to console her and ask her what's wrong. The wine/beer had been flowing at this point, so I'm sure everyone was a little tipsy. The girl starts to tell them that a few nights ago, she was sleeping and someone started banging on the door at, get this, fucking 1 AM. Just like what happened at my parents'. The girl jumps out of bed and says she was absolutely terrified by how loud and aggressive someone was banging on her door. She said she literally thought it was going to be a break-in. The girl has a Ring camera, so looks on her phone. There on the camera is a guy in a black hoodie banging on her door. She obviously pretends like she isn't home and keeps all of the lights off. He continues banging. As she is getting ready to dial 911, the guy stops and leaves. She said she was absolutely terrified. For whatever reason, she didn't end up calling the cops, but may have went to stay with a friend that night or the night after. My stepsister and fiancé are shocked by the details and how similar it is to my story, especially because of the mutual ex-boyfriend we share, except this girl literally just broke things off with him. They ask the girl if she has any idea who the guy is, and she says no, but that it is definitely not the actual ex-boyfriend. She said this guy was much taller and heavier than our shared mutual ex. How fucking weird. This mystery is still unsolved, and these new details honestly just make my head spin even more. No one else has showed up to my parents' door since the actual incident a year ago. In the comments, Opie added additional context, telling everyone that the 10th grade boyfriend was into drugs, even when she dated him back in high school. She also notes that their breakup was extremely messy, with her even having to be escorted to classes by a security guard because of how bad the bullying was from him and his friends. People who looked through Opie's profile found out that she may also have her own struggles with drugs, and for some reason a lot of people have basically brushed off her story because of this, even though at no point does she think it relevant to bring up that she's in trouble with dealers or anything like that. As far as we're aware, this incident is completely separate from whatever she is getting involved in, and if this has also happened to another ex of the boyfriend, then it indicates that it's more to do with him, especially if they only paid Opie a visit once. If I had to guess, and this is a theory that a lot of commenters ended up going with, then Opie's ex is getting themselves involved in some bad stuff. If we take everything into consideration, it seems as though he owes the wrong people money, and they might be going through all of the exes that he is known to have to see if he is hiding there. There's also a possibility that he is so messed up on drugs that he is still actively stalking people who he has a history with. This would kind of explain why the person would have now gotten into touch with 2 of his exes, potentially more for all we know. The ex has claimed he has no idea who these people are, and that he has no part in it, but we can't exactly expect this guy, who clearly has the wrong people after him, to be open and honest. It was probably a bad idea to even contact him in the first place, but despite all of this information, some people are completely writing Opie off, because they have a history of posting in the psychosis subreddit. Realistically, we don't have anyone's testimonies firsthand, so we do just have to take their word for it, and you can understand why some people may not be willing to. But I just hope that OP is staying safe either way, and that the mysterious hooded man has decided to stay away. How would you feel if you found a graphic fanfiction about yourself? Disturbed, right? Sadly, this was the reality for this Redditor. I have 2 roommates, 19 male, 20 female. I really get along with the girl and we're very good friends. The guy is a bit odd to say the least. He's very socially inept as well. Nonetheless, I'm sorta used to him now. Yesterday, I was in the kitchen when my friend walked in and told me that he showed her his fanfic. She said that I'm the main character and that I might want to check it out. She said that in a very concerned tone. Of course, I immediately went on the website and read it. To my surprise, it had almost 2,000 views at the time I was reading it. And my reaction was nothing short of what the fuck. I don't want to say exactly what it's about, but it's extremely sexual in nature. The creepy thing is that the descriptions he used are entirely based on my appearance, and it's so creepily accurate. I mean, he got everything down. The character has my name and age as well, but the worst thing is that he mentioned the college we go to. What if someone I know stumbles upon it? I just don't feel comfortable with this at all. The fact that it got so many views is also messed up. He didn't even have to base the character on me. Why the hell would he do that? And how the hell do I confront him about this? People immediately gave OP the best advice that they could think of: alert someone who has the power to kick him out of their residence, because I'm sure none of us would feel comfortable living with someone like this. Later that day, OP updates her post to tell us that they had actually confronted him about it. She asked him to remove the fanfic, but said that he could at least just change the character's name and the college. Apparently, he was reluctant to even do this, saying that basing the character on OP just felt right. But eventually he agreed and promised to change it within 2 to 3 days. OP also said that they were going to tell their college about this, but most commenters weren't happy with this conclusion at all, especially since he wasn't even agreeing to take it down immediately. And so, 2 days later, OP returned and updated us, saying that the college had gotten involved and had forced him to take it down. She says that the creepy roommate still doesn't see anything wrong with what he did, and so she is going to have a word with the landlord, because the whole situation still doesn't sit right. It's absolutely insane that this man ever thought this was going to be a good idea. As some commenters noted, it's likely that his whole intent was for OP to be disgusted, and that he almost got off in this fact. Sadly, it seems as though OP didn't really take this as seriously as they should have. They may not have realised just how sick and twisted it is for anyone to write a disturbing story like this about you, and since the post was made many years ago, we don't really know if they ever dealt with that fact. So although we do have a conclusion, it doesn't really feel like one. But we can just hope that OP didn't get any more trouble, and that they are now living their best life. Thank you so much for making it to the end of this video. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share the video, do all of that good stuff because it really helps the channel. And thank you so much to TIMESIX for narrating a story for this video. I always love working with TIMESIX, and trust me guys, if you haven't already, check out his channel. He's one of the best creators that I personally know. Let me know in the comments what you thought of these stories and which was the most interesting to you. If you have anything that you would like to see me cover here on the channel, you can now suggest video topics or submit your own stories over on Reddit at r/Jessicur. Trying to start using it more, so make sure that you take a look. Don't forget to check me out on social media. I have Instagram, Blue Sky, Twitter, and if you want to get involved with the community, then you can join my Discord server using the link in the description. Thank you so much to my Jessicur Plus members: Morrigan, Alex Rod, K4 Silver, Entrepreneur, Collectiki, Brooke, Carmella, Basefinger, Midnight Kitty, Willow, Briar, Fizzy, Shoshka, Frozen Roses, Greenlee, Snail Namgu, JM3112, River Camera, Jessicur, Mary, Shiv the Shrew, Ollie ZRZ, Rudy Jazz, Mikey Poopy, Elfcore, Goobly Goober, James Rex, Clara, and Finn71. If you want to support the channel further, then make sure that you check out Jessicur Plus. For $7.50 per month, you can get access to over 100 videos, some that will never be released on YouTube, and also an uncensored version of this video. Go to jessicur.com for more information. And if you're still supporting me on Patreon or YouTube members and would like to claim your additional benefits, then reach out to me on social media or by email and I'll sort you out with your free month of Jessicur Plus to thank you. I'll be back very soon with another video, but if you want another right now, then why stop listening? Because I think that you'll like this video that's on your screen.